Canadian businesses with American customers are facing a change in the duty-free rules for shipments to the U.S. The so-called de minimis exemption will end. That means packages valued at less than $800 U.S. will face duties at the end of August. Those shipments will be hit with an import tax at the level set for the product's country of origin. For more on what all this means and to explain it to make it easy to understand, Dan Kelly joins us now. He is the president and CEO of the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses, and he's in Toronto. Dan, I'm wondering if you can sort of explain to our viewers this morning, this is sort of a complicated issue. Is there an example that comes to top of mind of what this actually looks like for Canadian businesses so that it's just sort of easy to understand how this change will work?
Sure. Look, I was surprised even when I surveyed our members and found out just how many small businesses were sending retail goods direct to consumer in the United States duty free. An example of this is a small company that sells trading cards, old trading cards, and he ships them in using the postal service to the U.S. to direct to consumers that find him online. And to date, those cards have been able to travel to their destination in the United States with no duties at all, as long as they're under $800 US. It's similar to our, when we come back from a holiday from the United States or overseas, we can bring back, I think it's $800 Canadian when we've been away for a week or more. This is now, even for online purchases, you don't have to travel to do that for American consumers. That is going to end. Which is a big deal for a lot of small companies that do have some export business, that customers that find them online and buy from them.
I was going to say, so what kind of impact is this going to have on Canadian independent businesses? What are you anticipating?
It's going to be more significant than you might think. There are tons of companies, just like we as Canadians sometimes buy goods from overseas, have them shipped to us in Canada. The reverse happens in the United States. And they make it to their end destination without taxes or duties. And so for these companies, they risk losing that business altogether. Now, it's not entirely clear whether if the good is made in one of the three countries, Canada, the U.S., or Mexico, if those will still qualify for the CUSMA exemption, which, of course, is the subject of the larger tariff fight. And if they do, well, then that might provide some relief. But a lot of businesses have been set up in Canada, buying things from overseas, for example, from China, and then shipping them direct to consumer in the United States. And as of this weekend, they're not going to be able to do that tariff-free or duty-free.
Yeah, and the whole system is going to change at the end of August. Is that enough time for Canadian businesses to sort of adapt and adjust?
I think for many that are selling goods, particularly those goods made outside of Canada, that's going to be a big struggle to do that. And look, if there is a change made on the larger tariff picture that somehow adds duties to all Canadian products too, things made in Canada that we ship into the United States, well, then that's even a bigger deal, and that shoe has yet to drop.
Given your role and your position, and when you take a step back and look at this moment in the trade war between really the United States and all of its trading partners, what has it been like to try to navigate the uncertainty of this moment?
Well, you called it right. It is the uncertainty that is choking small businesses. Even today, most goods can still travel from Canada to the U.S. tariff-free and back to Canada from the United States, and that's good news. But the uncertainty is choking Canadian business owners. They are not sure which way to go. I mean, we're trying to. Uncertainty is the enemy of business. It prevents them from making any decisions. I had an email from a small business owner who says he's been carrying surplus staff since the tariff threat went in place because his customer demand has dried up. And he's been holding on to those staff, hoping that a trade deal will happen certainly by this Friday. If that doesn't happen, if there's a delay or even worse, a new tariff that's applied, he's going to have to start immediate layoffs. But even in the scenario that there's no deal and ongoing uncertainty, he can't do this any longer.
What kind of advice are you giving to people, to businesses, as they reach out to you to sort of navigate these challenges?
Look, the one thing that businesses have done successfully, including small businesses, is looking to diversify either their suppliers, if they're an importer, or their customers if they export. And it's been really gratifying to see that our data shows that about 30 to 40% of businesses that have been dependent on the U.S. either as a supplier or as a customer have moved to sell interprovincially or buy interprovincially, and potentially looking at Canada's trade agreements with other countries as a source of supply or a source of new business. That's a terrific thing, things that we should have been doing anyway. But we can't ignore the huge number of wealthy consumers on our doorstep, and getting a trade deal is just so darn important. I'm really hoping that something breaks today or tomorrow, and we can get back to some kind of normal.
What do you think of how the government of Prime Minister Mark Carney is doing in trying to negotiate and deal with the Trump administration? Do you support what they've done so far, and do you think they could be doing anything different?
Look, it is hard to criticize the federal government on the trade deal. I don't know, I don't know if the Pope himself could negotiate a deal with Donald Trump on trade. This is really, really high stakes stuff with a dance partner that is very unpredictable. So I'm not going to criticize the federal government for that. But what I will say is if we do not reach a trade deal by Friday, the billions of dollars that Canada has collected in retaliatory tariffs absolutely need to be released to support businesses. In fact, that was a commitment from the Prime Minister himself, is to use every dollar of tariff revenue that Canada is collecting to support small businesses and consumers until we get to the other side of this. That needs to start right away because we cannot continue with the degree of uncertainty. Businesses are going to fail, and they're going to fail fast.
Okay, Dan, we'll leave the conversation there. Dan Kelly is the president and the CEO of the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, and he's in Toronto.